Welcome, everybody. Come on in. This is
TaijhTV.
R. Kelly sentenced to 30 years. Ghislaine Maxwell sentenced to 20 years. Little Boosie saying free R. Kelly. The dumb shit. Yes, this episode is purely for the dumb shit. Maybe you'll get educated. Maybe not. But you will be entertained. On the screen, we're going to start by R. Kelly. Kales. Let's listen to his sentencing.
But we do begin tonight with singer R. Kelly, sentenced to 30 years behind bars after his conviction on racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors accused him of leading a criminal enterprise of managers, bodyguards, and other employees to recruit and abuse women, underage girls, and a teenage boy. Accusations swirled around him for decades, and authorities believe for years his actions were protected by his fame. Then in 2019, in the TV docuseries Surviving R. Kelly, a number of alleged victims came forward to publicly accuse him of abuse. Arrests followed on charges in Illinois, and in federal court, Kelly held without bail for nearly 3 years now. At today's sentencing, several accusers confronted the former superstar, the judge calling his abuse calculated and carefully planned for 25 years. ABC's Stephanie Ramos leading us off tonight.
After decades of sexual misconduct allegations, tonight, a federal judge in Brooklyn sentenced singer and convicted sexual predator R. Kelly to 30 years in prison.
This is a significant outcome for all victims of R. Kelly, and especially for the survivors who so bravely testified about the horrific and sadistic abuse they endured.
The one-time music superstar faced life behind bars after a jury found him guilty in federal court on 1 count of racketeering and 8 counts of sex trafficking. The trial lasting nearly 6 weeks, with close to 50 witnesses testifying against Kelly, more than half of them alleging abuse, several represented by Gloria Allred.
You've called R. Kelly the worst perpetrator that you've pursued. Why is that?
He recruited fans of his, targeted them, intimidated them, indoctrinated them, threatened them, sexually assaulted them.
Federal authorities.
I want you to remember all of what she just said. He recruited them, sexually assaulted them. Children, babies. Not literally babies, but young teenage women, girls. Then you have your Ghislaine Maxwell, found guilty as well. R. Kelly, sex trafficking, 30 years. Let's see what Ghislaine Maxwell gets.
We are also following breaking news. Ghislaine Maxwell will serve 20 years in prison for sex trafficking. A federal judge announcing that sentence within the last hour. Now, Maxwell was convicted of helping to recruit young girls to be abused by her longtime associate, Jeffrey Epstein, back in December. The judge saying, quote, "The damage done to these girls was incalculable." NBC News correspondent for investigations.
Doesn't seem like the same verbiage so far. It was calculated. Both of them are calculated predators. But one gets 20 years, the other gets 30.
Tom Winter has been following this case from the start. He is live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan today. Tom, Maxwell did speak in the courtroom before learning her sentence today. What did she say?
Yeah, and a tough sentence that it was, with the judge going above the guideline range to sentence her to 20 years in jail, more than was initially called.
Above the guideline range. Do you hear that? Do you listen how they're downplaying Ghislaine Maxwell compared to R. Kelly? R. Kelly, full-fledged monster, deserved every second that he gets. But Ghislaine, we're going above and beyond with giving her 20 years. 10 years less than R. Kelly.
Called for in hitting her with maximum fines. The statements from Maxwell today, as you said, really the first time that we've heard from her in a substantial fashion since this entire case began, which is not entirely surprising. But what she said did surprise some people in court. She did acknowledge the tremendous emotional testimony that these women provided to the court today for all the abuses that they've gone through and all the abuse. abuse that they say they've suffered since, talking about psychological abuse, talking about substance abuse, talking about multiple attempts at suicide because the things that Maxwell and Epstein put them through. For, in her own words, Maxwell saying today, "It is my sincerest wish to all those in this courtroom that this day brings a terrible chapter to an end." She also said, "May this day help you travel from the darkness into the light." Speaking to the victims, she acknowledged that she'd been convicted with Jeffrey Epstein, but didn't really admit her own role in what happened here and her own role with Epstein. That's something that the judge picked up. She said it was kind of a pattern of putting the blame aside, noted that in handing down her sentence. Maxwell, for her part, stood to receive the sentence as is customary, but pretty much just looked forward and didn't seem to have any sort of overt emotion or reaction to today's proceedings. And I will note, during the course of the victim's testimony, she also did not appear to ever look at them, just kind of leaned forward and looked forward and took some notes as well. This really does mark the final chapter of a multi-year investigation. She was first arrested nearly.
They're calling it this an end to the Epstein Maxwell chapter. You will hear nothing else of this Maxwell Epstein saga dealing with the elites of the world. Not no fucking hood rats. The elites. This is the end of the chapter. You heard it yourself. With R. Kelly, they come out with TV shows. Surviving R. Kelly. You don't hear nothing about the elites. A conviction for her prostituting children to elites. Who the fuck were the elites? Who were they? Why is that sealed? And if you're like me, you want to know, why did R. Kelly get 30 years for the same shit and Ghislaine got 20 years? Well, Insider has their own fucking opinion. Now, I will say, no, we'll read it. We'll read it. This week marked the sentencing of two influential people who presided over the vast sex trafficking operation. One was Ghislaine Maxwell, who groomed teenage girls to Jeffrey Epstein for sex and in some cases sexually abused them herself. She was sentenced to 20 years on Tuesday. R. Kelly, who wielded his fame. You see how with Ghislaine, she groomed them. But with R. Kelly, he wielded his fame over these young girls and boys and raped them. That word right there means everything. Raped. Ghislaine groomed, R. Kelly raped. That's why. In a nutshell, that's why Ghislaine got 20 years and R. Kelly got 30. But if you're a fucking intelligent person, you know, like I know, Ghislaine ain't going to prison. Make of it what you want. But Ghislaine is a powerful woman. She has powerful connections with presidents, former presidents, current presidents. They're wrapping her shit up. This saga is wrapped up. Now, this Insider edition is going to give you, this judge is more lenient than this judge, and this judge isn't cut from the same cloth as it. They're both Democratic judges. They both work for the same team. R. Kelly is an American black, a descendant of slave. Ghislaine is not. Ghislaine is a daughter of a billionaire. Ghislaine has record elite pedophiles of the world. That's why Ghislaine is not doing 20 years and R. Kelly will die in prison. But they both deserve prison. You don't rape. You don't groom. But you got Boosie Badass. Rapper. I'm not going to say an icon. He's not a fucking icon. Very prominent rapper. Very influential. I personally grew up and I like Boosie Badass. But he defends R. Kelly. Boosie Badass has said some crazy shit lately. Talking about people's kids. Now he's backing a convicted rapist. I said raper. Boosie tweets, people getting 15, 20 years for murder, and he got 30? Yes, he wrong as fuck for manipulating young girls and sexing them, but he didn't kill anyone, aggravated rape anyone, and no blame on the parents who knew everything. Resentence this man. College professors get probation for this shit. He also is quoted saying, get this man some help and some jail time, but don't give a death sentence. 30 years? Maybe he can get out one day and warn these young girls about older predators and make a difference. 30 years? Like, come on, world. Then he copies and pastes this shit about the mothers bringing the children to go see R. Kelly's. Let's listen to what Lil Boosie has to say.
They gave my boy Kelly 30, man. Fuck. Can't take this away from him, no. I'm in love. That nigga was the truth, man.
Lil Boosie, you did time in prison. You know what happens when a convict, an offender, goes in there with those charges. They're shunned. They're shunned by the inmates, fellow peer inmates. You know, if you was in prison and R. Kelly came in, you would have to shun him. But here you are, as a prominent gangsta, backing a convicted sexual offender. Why do black people always do this? Why can't we admit when a motherfucker's wrong? Yeah, this is a black thing. You know, Timmy down the street, Timmy killed someone. If Timmy gets caught, oh, free Timmy, oh, free him. He didn't do it, free him. But just 2 weeks prior, you were talking about my boy Timmy, a shooter. Why are we so backwards? That nigga deserves to go to jail. Taking it from the little kids, go sit your ass in jail. Ghislaine Maxwell, you need to go to jail. You don't see white people saying free Ghislaine Maxwell. You don't see white people saying rest in peace Epstein. No, that's just a black thing. We're backwards. I'm going to show you how backwards Black America is. Brittney Griner made her first court appearance. Let's watch it.
In a Moscow courtroom this morning, appearing for the first day of her trial, WNBA superstar Brittney Griner. Griner was arrested at a Russian airport in February, accused of carrying vape cartridges that contained cannabis oil in her luggage. The charge, large-scale transportation of drugs. If convicted, she could face a decade in a Russian prison, and Griner has to remain in custody for the entire criminal trial. Griner's wife, Cheryl, says the two-time Olympic gold medalist is struggling and terrified.
And I told her, I said, I saw a picture. And honestly, for a second, I thought you was insane. And so I told her, I was like, I just want to tell you one thing. I said, if you are losing your mind, just be gracious with yourself because you're human and that's okay.
Griner's detainment comes amid Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine and strained diplomatic relations with the United States. The State Department saying Griner is being...
See, they're already giving Joe Biden an out. See, this is what the fucking propagandist media does. They're giving him a fucking out. It's tough to get Brittney Griner out with this continuing conflict with Russia and Ukraine. It has strained the ties between us and Russia. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Things have never changed.
Being wrongfully detained, and we have no higher priority than the safety and security of US citizens overseas. In June, I asked President Putin's spokesman about her arrest.
She was coming to take part in sport in Russia, effectively trying to build bridges through sport. It's a terrible message, isn't it, that she should be arrested?
It is also a terrible message to bring.
Did you hear the propagandist news? No, she went to Russia to play sports in Russia to bring, like, you know, the ties with America and Russia together. Isn't it a terrible message that you're arresting her? Bitch, she committed a crime. The fuck you talking about? She committed a crime. We got foreign motherfuckers in our prisons. The fuck? What makes her special? Because she fucking plays WNBA? Y'all don't even watch WNBA here. You don't. LeBron gets paid more for 1 year than their whole WNBA salary. But anyway, let's continue.
Some forbidden essences and materials to this country, and it is prosecuted by Russian laws.
The Kremlin is not commenting on Russian media reports that it hopes to exchange Griner for an arms trafficker jailed in the US, denying that she is effectively a hostage.
And Keir, Griner's wife also expressed frustrations about the Biden administration's response so far. What can you tell us about that?
That's right, Kristen. She is outspoken. She has called for more action, less words from the Biden administration, says that she would like to meet with President Biden. You know, Kristen, I think it really doesn't help that the Biden administration was supposed to connect her by phone with Brittney Griner, and they weren't able to do that. But her wife said...
The Biden administration wasn't even able to give her a phone call to her wife in that Russian prison. Really? This is how weak Joe Biden is. And you fuckers voted for a weak person to be in office. Listen. Brittney Griner committed the crime. She needs to go through due process. So do so many Americans that go over there overseas committing crimes. But one thing about fucking Trump, you was not going to make this a fucking media thing. Trump would have had Brittney over here. She maybe have done a week or two in jail over there, felt sorry, came home, but he would have had her back. Months. When did this happen? February? 5 months in a Russian jail, and it just got extended another 6 months. She's going to do at least a year in a Russian jail. Because our weak leadership can't bring her home. Can't even give her wife a phone call to her. And you guys voted for this weak president.
Says that she does get letters. And listen to this. Brittney Griner, 6'9", says in those letters that there is a 5-hour round trip to court in a tiny cage.
Oh, Keir. And, you know, Griner's wife also weighed in on the possibility of a prisoner swap to bring Griner back home. We've seen this happen in the past recently, in fact. What are the prospects of that actually happening again?
I think it is something that Russian officials are thinking about. When I interviewed Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, Tom, when I asked about whether Brittney Griner was a hostage, he immediately turned and said, no, this arms dealer, Victor Bout, is a hostage. So they don't say it openly. Now, clearly there are some issues with that. Brittney Griner accused of having hashish oil in her luggage. Victor Bout was convicted of smuggling weapons. And there's another issue.
It doesn't fucking matter, bitch. It's a crime. 2 motherfuckers committing crimes, 2 motherfuckers in jail. What's he not get? But that's your propagandist media. But my boy Trump would have had him out. Remember ASAP?
And you know how I feel about Prime Minister Abiy. He's a very special guy. ASAP Rocky is a situation in Sweden. Sweden's a great country. They're friends of mine. The leadership, and we are going to be calling. We'll be talking to them. We've already started, And many members of the African American community have called me, friends of mine, and said, could you help? So I personally don't know ASAP Rocky, but I can tell you that he has tremendous support from the African American community in this country. And when I say African American, I think I can really say from everybody in this country, because we're all one. I have been called by so many people asking me to help ASAP Rocky. Actually, the one who knew about ASAP Rocky was our first lady, right?
Luke, can you see? Got ASAP home, didn't he? The Swedish government was over. Oh, we can't intervene in prosecution. President Trump. No. If you don't intervene in prosecution and get my American influential person out of jail, motherfucker, I will lead an international trade war, and you won't like it. July 1st today, ASAP Rocky's sweetened arrest led to Donald Trump threatening international trade war. Let's not forget the President of the United States put it down and how it should be. Ain't none of this fucking politically correct shit. You got an American down there, and motherfucker, I want him. That's how it's supposed to fucking be. That's a fucking alpha male. But you, hey, the blacks didn't like it. The American blacks didn't like it. Their masters told them not to like it, so they said, okay, massa, we don't like it. What about when LiAngelo Ball went to China stealing? Trump got him home. Let's listen.
Yeah, we have breaking news this morning. A new development for the 3 UCLA players accused of shoplifting in China. Wall Street Journal is reporting that the players are at a Shanghai airport this morning, preparing to board a flight back to Los Angeles. The freshman players, including LiAngelo Ball, had been detained at a Chinese hotel since first being questioned in a shoplifting investigation last week. United States President Donald Trump had asked Chinese President Xi Jinping for his help in resolving the case. The rest of the UCLA team returned to the U.S. last weekend.
He got him home, didn't he? But then you have ungrateful Negroes whose master tells them, do not take help from that man. He doesn't love you like us. You're seeing how much your master loves you. Your master, Joe Biden, who you voted for, who you fucking turned this country upside down for, that master is showing you how much he fucking loves you. Listen to what LiAngelo said next.
For President Trump getting him out of trouble in China.
Jared Max is here. He's got the story. Hey, Jared, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so we go from a story about fake sports news to a fake apology, apparently.
Pretty much.
LiAngelo Ball was doing a radio show yesterday, The Breakfast Club. He was there with his father, LeVar, and his younger brother, LaMelo. Now, when the subject came up about LiAngelo's recent press conference, where he thanked the president, he made it clear that it wasn't his idea and wasn't really on board with it. Check this out. He said, my school wanted to hear it too. Before I went up there, it was like, you got to thank him. So I just threw him in there real quick before I gave my speech. He says, if they didn't tell me to do it, it wouldn't have been in there.
Then your dumbass should have stayed in a Chinese jail, getting tossed up, nigga, like shrimp fried rice. Fuck you talking about, hoe ass nigga. And then you got a bitch rapper, a bitch who probably gets fucked in his ass, coming out saying shit like this.
I love the Ball family. Big shouts out to
Look, they're out. They're on the way back to the States. Charges all dropped. What does Yachty got to say about that?
Big Baller Brand, man, they got some serious shit going on, dog. Big Baller Brand, you know what I'm saying? I got Big Baller Lawyer. I'm telling Big Baller Brand, they need to send me some merch. I need that BBB merch.
So do you think the power of Big Baller Brand kind of got them out? Like all the fame, you know? Because think about it. Donald Trump knew about them and made the call.
Fuck Donald Trump, bro. Nobody give a fuck about Donald Trump. It's money, bro. You got money, you can get out of anything.
A bitch ass motherfucker. Maybe that's why Joe Biden hasn't gotten that black woman out, because he knows she's going to be ungrateful. You bite the hand that feeds you, this is what you get. So many years of blacks voting for Democrats. What do you have for it? What do you have to show for it? A whole bunch of stories about how you got fucked royally by them. And on that note, I will see you Tuesday. Before I get angry and flip this goddamn desk everywhere. Thank you for tuning in. Catch you Tuesday. Good night.